Robin's with you in the afternoons.
Well, it is Wellness Wednesday, and I am joined once again by Jane Ehrman of Images of Wellness. Hey, Jane, how are you today?
I'm well. How about you, Robin?
Oh, I'm doing great today. So the time is just absolutely flown by, and we're in the last couple of weeks of the year. I mean, the finish line is on the horizon.
Yeah.
So many things have happened in our lives this past year, personally, in our families, in our communities, our country. We've probably got a lot of mixed feelings about the year and wonder how to move into this coming year in the best ways. We want it to be the best it can be. What are some good ways that you can tell me about reflecting on the year?
That's a good question, Robin. I think it's really helpful for us to unpack the year. Sometimes there's a tendency to think, I just want to put this year behind me and move on to next year and hope for the best. But the truth is, we usually have some of those same issues next year, problems that we have over and over again, partly because we haven't faced them. We haven't figured out what we need to do to resolve them and make the changes to our approach and our behaviors. So I encourage people to take some time and maybe write your thoughts and feelings about this year. Here are some helpful questions to help you do that. How do I feel, or what do I feel pleased about this year? What are some events that took place, or relationships you've made, or celebrations you've had? Maybe some work you've completed, things like that. Another question is, what were some significant challenges I faced? Everybody has them. Mm-hmm. And rather than push them in the background, ask, how did I deal with them? What are my qualities and skills that I used to overcome them? Might be your determination, your positivity, your courage, your sense of humor, or faith, or compassion. What lessons did I learn from these challenges? Let's move forward with some wisdom and insight. What did I learn about myself? And what will I do differently in the future, maybe when these same kinds of issues show up? What experiences have brought me joy and satisfaction this year? I think it's really important. That might be a good one to start with, because we tend to start with the negatives. But start with that one.
Absolutely.
And another question, what progress did I make towards some of my long-term goals and dreams? Did I follow through on connecting with those who could help me succeed? Did I take the steps I knew would be helpful? Or not? And if not, why? What got in my way? Was it self-doubt? Was it time, finances, other things? And what will I do to change this kind of thing going forward?
Oh, I love all those suggestions, because sometimes if you've had a hard year, it's so easy to get mired up in the hard things. But if you look back on the year, obviously there were some shining points. Mm-hmm. Every year has both, and it doesn't quite give the proper respect to those good points as well.
Or to yourself, that you actually pulled yourself through those things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yay me. Well, what are some questions that we could be asking ourselves about our health and wellness?
Okay.
It is Wellness Wednesday, after all.
Absolutely. In looking at how well we took care of ourselves and how we might want to improve our health, here are some questions. What habits or routines have I had this year that helped me be well? Maybe you ate more fruits and vegetables, or were more physically active, or you took a fitness class, or you said yes to your needs and had healthier boundaries. Did you do some meditation? Okay, so maybe it was only 1 or 2 times a week or once a month or something, but you did it. And did you do some other stress relief practices? Or, did you talk with a friend for support, or maybe even get some professional help? And then ask yourself, what habits or behaviors would be best to let go of that no longer serve me? Maybe you want to cut back or stop some substance use. Could be smoking, vaping, alcohol. Think about it. Or maybe you're watching too much TV or playing too many video games. Or you're not getting enough sleep. You're going to bed really late, midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. You wonder why you're tired? You wonder why you're not feeling well?
It's so weird how we'll ask ourselves that question when we know perfectly well what the answer is.
And then you stare at somebody who asks that and your mouth breathing like, what?
Right.
Yeah. late night snacking, or maybe those irregular meals, not eating breakfast, waiting until way too late to eat and then eating too much, or eating a lot of junk food, or not managing your stress well.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, those are great suggestions. Now, what are some ways that we can plan for the upcoming year? And if you're just tuning in, we're talking with Jane Ehrman of Images of Wellness on looking forward, looking ahead. Mm-hmm. So how can we plan for the upcoming year and be the most positive about it?
I think it's really helpful to create a plan for the coming year. After you reflect on this year, you can see what you did well and what areas you might want to improve or focus on for next year. Here are some other questions to consider. What are some of the important things I'd like to improve or do in the coming year? And really think about that. That isn't something you can sit down and maybe answer right away. Maybe you take a couple of days to marinate on that and write down a thing or two as they come to you. Do you want to strengthen some of your relationships, maybe within your family or with a friend or coworkers? What will you do to improve those relationships? Or maybe you want to improve your health. What's your current state of health? And what are some of the areas you want to improve? Which ones are you most motivated to change? Because motivation comes from inside us. I'm going to do something about motivation in one of the segments coming up in the next year.
That'll be a great way to start out the next year.
Yeah, it's our motivation is what we tap into when we're not feeling particularly interested in doing what's necessary to change, like going out and taking a walk on a cold, cloudy day when we're tired. Motivation pushes that excuse aside and allows you to focus on how good you'll feel afterward so that you make yourself get out on the sidewalk and do that walk.
Right. It's so much easier on a beautiful summer day.
Absolutely. But motivation is when we pull it up when we need it the most because we're not quite so motivated. Mm-hmm. Or managing your finances better. Maybe, you want to create a budget. What amount of money comes in and what are your necessary expenses? And after those are paid, what money's left? And from that, always looking at how much can you put towards savings, even if it's as little as $10 or $25. And then some to pay down debt if you have debt. And what's left over for some non-essentials. So pick one or two areas or goals that you will commit to achieving in the coming year. Create a plan for it, the steps you'll take to achieve that. And plan for support when things get tough, because it isn't always going to be easy. That motivation can be tenuous. So choose maybe an accountability person, not someone who's going to nag you. Don't pick someone like that. Pick someone who will check in on you. Hey, how you doing with that, that exercise you were going to do? So they can help you stay on track and maybe even help you strategize when your motivation is lacking.
That's a great idea. Well, you've given us a lot to think about and consider at the end of the year as we are rolling right towards it. I think even faster than we would like to think sometimes. Any final thoughts on all this?
I encourage you to reflect on this past year, what happened, what you learned and accomplished. Then give some thought as to the best ways to move into the coming year, wiser and smarter and more effectively. I wish you all the best in the coming year.
Oh, thanks, Jane. We certainly wish you the best in the coming year as well. It's always a treat to have you in and bring us a little midweek dose of wellness.
99.3 The Vine is proudly owned and operated locally by Wind Down Media.